Welcome back into the Viking Central podcast. We're going to talk some bold predictions for the rest of training camp. Before we hop into the video, I do want to shout out our sponsor, that's Badass Wood Art. Use code VC15 for 15% off your order. You can find the link in the description. Also, Playbook Products. Use code Viking Central for 20% off your order at checkout. And I'll also put their link in the description. All right, peeps. I know you probably want me to talk about JJ McCarthy because that's been the hot topic, and maybe I will talk about him a little bit at some point in this video. He's been performing very well at training camp, so maybe I will have a bold prediction about JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold. Stay tuned. But my first bold prediction, the Vikings will either cut, or if some team is willing to trade a bag of Doritos, 7th-round pick swap, 6th-round pick, for Lewis Cine or Andrew Booth Jr. Both of those guys will either get cut or traded by the end of training camp or by week 1, let's say, which is really unfortunate because that was Kwesi's first draft, 2022. Andrew Booth Jr., 2nd-round pick. Lewis Cine, obviously, the 32nd pick in the draft, 1st-round pick. First draft selection of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's tenure as Vikings GM. So not a great start, but Kwesi's made some better moves as of late, so we can forgive that one as of now. But also, he did pass up on Kyle Hamilton, and I know that's a hot topic around the Vikings atmosphere as well, especially on Twitter, social media. That's a big no-no to talk about that because Kyle Hamilton's one of the best safeties in the league right now, and to have him in the back end of this defense would only elevate this defense and be a great fit with Brian Flores. But both of those guys just haven't been able to find their footing in the league, and it says a lot because Brian Flores can get the most out of a lot of these guys. Lewis Cine does, they say, have a lower leg issue going on right now, like a strain or something, which I don't know how true that is, because if it's a small issue, like if you're Lewis Cine, wouldn't you want to play? Like, you're trying to fight for your life here. You're trying to, move up the depth chart a little bit. I feel like maybe a trade is maybe trying to be in the works a little bit if they can get something done. And unfortunately, it's going to be a late round pick, 6 maybe, but more than likely a 7th or a pick swap, which is just not a good situation because, again, he was a 1st-round selection just, 3 years ago. It's his 3rd year now. So not good. Andrew Booth Jr., he's the one who would get the majority of playing time between the two because that cornerback room is pretty thin right now. But at the same time, they did just bring in Bobby McCain, who does say he's probably going to play safety. Jay Ward moved over to corner the last couple of days of training camp. And then also they added Fabian Moreau, the former Denver Bronco, who has experience, started 11 games last year, who's probably, after a couple of weeks, is probably going to be ahead of Andrew Booth Jr. So that's what my first bold prediction. Andrew Booth Jr., Lewis Cine, bye-bye. Sorry, either cut or traded. We'll see if that does come to fruition here in the next couple of weeks. My second bold prediction, the wide receiver room. So we got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Robert Wood, no, I kind of just gave it away. Brett, just kind of gave it away. I think Robert Woods is going to be a Viking by the time of week 1. So he is with the Texans right now, but that room is pretty deep over there. You got Stephon Diggs, you got Nico Collins, you got Tank Dell, Robert Mechie, young, really talented guys. Diggs isn't as young now, but I feel like Robert Woods is either going to maybe want to trade or just get flat out released and come to Minnesota. He's familiar with Kevin O'Connell. He's used to this system, especially if Jordan Addison. There's rumors out there there's going to be a 3-game suspension sometime. If it's not this year, maybe the beginning of next. Just depends on how this legal situation plays out. But my bold prediction number 2 is Robert Woods will be in a Vikings uniform by the time week 1 or week 2 rolls around. Just depends on how fast they kind of get things rolling. I think he's either going to get cut or traded by the Texans, and I feel like we'd rather just be flat out cut, so we don't have to give up any capital, but maybe they just want to do Lewis Seen for Robert Woods straight up. You want to form a first-round pick, see what happens. Add him to your safety room, see if, D'Amico Ryans can get the best out of Seen, but I don't see that happening, but I do see Robert Woods in a Vikings uniform. So that's my bold prediction number 2. I kind of blew it right away because I was naming off our wide receiver room, and then, of course, I just Robert Woods. Okay, whatever. Robert Woods, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 with the Minnesota Vikings, because Jalen Naylor's had a really good camp. Just stay healthy, and you will make a difference this year in that Vikings offense. Bold prediction number 3. You ready for this? You've been waiting for it. JJ McCarthy will be the week 1 starter, and he will start getting a majority of the first team reps after preseason week 2. That's my prediction. But he will be the week 1 starter. He has looked fantastic in training camp, just playing really good football, taking care of the football, unlike Sam Darnold. Showing that arm strength, the velocity on his throws, and he's only 21 years old. He's only going to get stronger, more polished, more refined. Like this kid, especially with Kevin O'Connell, Josh McCown, Wes Phillips, they're gonna mold him in a great way, in my opinion. Obviously, they try to do a little bit of that with Jaron Hall. Hall just doesn't have the mechanics, the arm talent as JJ McCarthy. He's a smart kid, but at the same time, just he's a little more raw, just not as refined, and natural arm talent just isn't there. But with JJ McCarthy, obviously he's top 10 pick. They've seen that in him, and he's making the most of it so far. Now there will be some ups and downs. Like he's strung together a lot of good days right off the bat. Here at the start of training camp, there might be a day or two where it's kind of the opposite, and that's expected. And I think Kevin O'Connell and this coaching staff expect that at some point. But if it doesn't happen, that's even better. But at some point, he's going to struggle a little bit. Again, he's a 21-year-old rookie. And he's not been thrown to the second and third team like Thayer Thomas, Malik Knowles, is it Jawan Johnson, undrafted free agent. Just a lot of guys that aren't Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I mean, it seems like he's made a good connection with Jalen Naylor so far, but that's a guy he could be thrown to this year if he does stay healthy as wide receiver 3. But he hasn't had the commodities of throwing to the best wide receiver in the game in Justin Jefferson, and one of the better wide receiver number 2 is in Jordan Addison. So that's my third and maybe boldest prediction. JJ McCarthy will be the week 1 starter. I know people say, they're gonna let him have his time. But what if JJ's just ready? What if he's just ready to play? Either way, it's gonna be fun to watch a lot of this stuff unfold within the next month or so. We're only about 40 days away from the week 1 opener. God bless.